The silence inside the Porsche was absolute. Isabella Moretti watched through the tinted window as the driver navigated the narrow streets of the outskirts, every pothole in the road shaking her wheelchair on the back seat. 32 years old, a billionaire in the tech industry, and there she was, personally going to pick up her car at a workshop that didn't even have a proper sign on the facade. "We've arrived, Mrs. Moretti," announced the driver, stopping in front of a warehouse with a rusty gate. Isabella pressed her lips together. 3 years since the accident. 3 years trapped in that cursed chair. The best doctors in Europe, experimental clinics in the United States, alternative treatments in Asia. Millions spent. Every answer identical: complete spinal cord injury, permanent paralysis from the waist down. The driver opened the door and began assembling the wheelchair. "No need to come in with me. Wait here." She rolled alone over the uneven concrete floor. The smell of oil and metal invaded her nostrils. At the back of the warehouse, a man was leaning over the hood of her Porsche, his hands covered in grease, a simple t-shirt stained with sweat. "Excuse me," Isabella called, her voice cutting through the noise of tools. The man turned. Young face, maybe 35, dark and intense eyes. He looked at her for 2 seconds, not with pity, not with discomfort, just looked as if he were looking at anyone else. "Isabella Moretti?" he asked, wiping his hands on an old cloth. "I came to pick up my car." "Rafael Costa," he introduced himself, extending his hand without hesitation. She shook it. Firm, calloused, warm. "Your Porsche had a problem with the electronic injection system. I fixed it, but I recommend changing the battery in the next few months." Isabella nodded, taking out her wallet. "How much?" $2,500. She handed over her credit card. Rafael ran it through the portable machine, returned the card and receipt. "All set. You can take it." Isabella expected him to walk away, but Rafael remained standing, watching her with that strange intensity. "What is it?" she asked, annoyed. "You're going to walk again." The world seemed to freeze. Isabella blinked, thinking she had misheard. "Excuse me." "I said you're going to walk again," Rafael repeated, with the same casualness as someone commenting on the weather. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. "You're a doctor now?" "No. I just know." "No." Isabella felt anger rising. "Listen here, mechanic. I've seen 17 specialists on 4 continents. They all said the same thing. My spinal cord was crushed. There's no going back." Rafael crossed his arms, impassive. "Doctors work with what they know. But not everything that is real has been discovered yet." "That's ridiculous." "Maybe. But you're going to walk. You may not believe it now, but you'll remember this conversation." Isabella felt something strange in her chest, not anger, not hope, something unsettling she couldn't name. This man didn't pity her. He wasn't trying to console her. He spoke as if stating a scientific fact. "You're crazy," she said, turning her chair. "Probably," Rafael replied, returning to work as if nothing had happened. Isabella left furious. How dare someone give false hope? How could a mechanic from the outskirts think he knew more than the best neurologists in the world? But that night, lying in her king-size bed in the penthouse overlooking the sea, Isabella couldn't get Rafael's face out of her mind. Nor his words. Nor that impossible certainty. 3 days later, she made up some excuse about a strange noise in the engine and returned to the workshop. Rafael was there, fixing an old car. When he saw her, he smiled. Not a smile of pity, but of recognition. "I knew you'd come back," he said simply. "The car is making a noise." "It's not. I checked everything." Isabella clenched her fists. "How can you be so sure about my spine?" Rafael put down the tool, stepped closer, and crouched in front of her, at eye level. "Because I've studied cases like yours. Because I've seen the impossible happen. And because when I looked at you, I saw someone who hasn't given up yet, even if they try to pretend they have. You don't know me." "No. But I recognize strength when I see it." Isabella felt a lump in her throat. It had been 3 years since anyone looked at her like that, as if she were more than a walking tragedy, more than a sad story. "Who are you, Rafael?" she whispered. He stood, returning to the car. "Just a mechanic who knows more than he should." And that was when Isabella decided to find out the truth. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Leave in the comments what you think so far and from which city or country you're watching. Your interaction is very important for us to keep bringing exciting stories like this one. Isabella hired a private investigator the following morning. 48 hours later, she had a complete dossier on Rafael Costa in her hands. What she read left her breathless. Rafael Eduardo Costa, 36 years old. Graduated in biomedical engineering from the Federal University, Master's in Computational Neuroscience, PhD in Neural Regeneration completed at 28. Publications in international scientific journals. Academic awards. A brilliant career ahead. Until everything fell apart. At 30, his fiancée, Amanda Ferreira, suffered a car accident. Spinal cord injury identical to Isabella's. The doctors said the same thing, irreversible. Rafael left the university. Sold everything he had. Spent years and his entire fortune trying to create experimental treatments, neural stimulation prototypes, therapies the scientific community considered impossible. Amanda died 3 years later. Not from the injury, but from a hospital infection during one of the experimental procedures Rafael had organized. He inherited his father's mechanic workshop, who had passed away months earlier. Since then, he lived repairing cars, in complete anonymity, as if that brilliant scientist had never existed. Isabella closed the folder, her hands trembling. Rafael was not a madman. He was a broken man trying to fix what he had broken. The next afternoon, she returned to the workshop. Rafael was sitting on a stool, drinking coffee from an old mug, staring into nothing. "I know who you are," Isabella said, stopping her chair in front of him. Rafael slowly lifted his eyes. There was no surprise there. Just fatigue. "You investigated." "Obviously." "And now? Did you come to tell me I'm a monster who killed my fiancée?" The rawness of the sentence cut the air. "No," Isabella replied softly. "I came to ask if you really believe I can walk again, or if you were just projecting your regrets onto me." Rafael put the mug down and stood up. He walked to a dusty shelf at the back of the workshop and returned with an old cardboard box. Inside were notebooks, graphs, technical diagrams scribbled by hand. "I was close," he said, opening one of the notebooks. The latest tests showed partial regeneration in animal models. Neural stimulation combined with nanotechnology. It worked. "Then why did you stop?" "Because Amanda died. Because I realized I was more obsessed with proving I was right than listening to what she needed. She wanted peace. I wanted miracles." Isabella swallowed hard. She knew that obsession. She had lived it. But it worked. Yes. Partially. It wasn't a complete cure, but significant recovery. The problem was that it needed resources. A proper lab. A team. Approvals. Time. Money. Isabella took a deep breath. "I have money." Rafael abruptly raised his head. "What?" "I have labs. Resources. I can fund your research. But with one condition, I'm the test subject." "You're crazy." "Maybe. But if there's a chance, a single chance that I can feel my legs again, I'll take it. You said I would walk again. So make me walk." Rafael ran a hand over his face, visibly conflicted. "Isabella, I can't guarantee anything. It might not work. There could be complications. There could be me spending the rest of my life wondering what if. I'd rather try and fail than never know." The silence stretched between them like a razor wire. "Why do you trust me?" Rafael asked, his voice hoarse. "You read the report. You know Amanda died because of me." "No. She died because she was sick. You tried to save her. That's different." "It doesn't feel different when I wake up at 3 in the morning." Isabella reached out her hand. "Then use this chance to do it differently. Not for redemption. Not for guilt. But because the science was right. You were right." Rafael looked at the extended hand. Then at the notebooks. Then at Isabella. "It's going to be painful. It's going to be long. It's going to demand everything from you. I know. It might not work. I know. Finally, Raphael shook her hand. Then let's try. 2 weeks later, a state-of-the-art laboratory was set up in a remote commercial building. Imported equipment. Small, discreet team. Raphael led everything, returning to being the scientist he had abandoned. Isabella saw something re-emerging in his eyes: purpose. And for the first time in 3 years, she felt something similar. The first procedure was scheduled 3 days later. Deep neural stimulation. Application of regenerative nanoparticles. Intensive physiotherapy. The night before, Isabella was alone in the lab when Raphael entered. "Are you scared?" he asked. "Terrified," she admitted. "Me too." She smiled faintly. "We make a good team." Raphael approached, crouched, and looked into her eyes. "No matter what happens, Isabella, you are already stronger than you think." And for the first time since the accident, Isabella felt something she hadn't felt in years: real hope, not desperate, but grounded in someone who truly believed in her. The first 3 months were brutal. Isabella woke up at 5 in the morning, went through 2-hour neural stimulation sessions that left her entire body trembling, followed by physiotherapy so intense she ended up in tears. Raphael was always present, monitoring every response, adjusting protocols, noting everything. At first, nothing happened. Isabella still couldn't feel her legs. No movement. Nothing. "Sorry for the delay, Mrs. Moretti," said one of the technicians one morning, adjusting the electrodes. "Dr. Costa is reviewing the latest scans." Isabella frowned. "Dr. Costa?" The technician blushed. "Sorry, I meant Raphael." But Isabella noticed something. The whole team treated him with profound respect. Not as a lucky mechanic. As a genius returned from exile. In the 4th week, during a night session, it happened. Isabella was lying on the table, electrodes connected to the base of her spine, when she felt something. Not pain. Not tingling. Something different. As if a door locked for years had opened a millimeter. "Raphael," she called, her voice trembling. He dropped the tablet and ran to the table. "What is it?" "I felt something in my left ankle." Raphael's eyes widened. He took a fine instrument and lightly touched her skin. "Here." "No." He moved to another spot. "Here." "Yes. There. I feel it." Raphael closed his eyes for a second, taking a deep breath. When he opened them, there were tears. "It's working," he whispered. "It's really working." Isabella began to cry too. Not from pain. From relief. From something that felt absurdly close to joy. But progress was painfully slow. First the ankle. Then, weeks later, tingling in the knee. Small involuntary muscle contractions. Each advance was celebrated as a victory, but Isabella was still far from walking. Raphael worked day and night. Isabella often found him sleeping in the lab, surrounded by papers and open screens. He had lost weight. Deep dark circles under his eyes. "You need to rest," she said one night, entering quietly. Raphael lifted his head. "I'm close to something. Look at this." He showed a complex graph. "If we combine the current stimulation with an adaptive neural exoskeleton, we can accelerate reconnection. But I need to build the prototype." "Then build it." "It's not simple. It needs to be customized, calibrated for your specific neural patterns. It will take months." "Then start tomorrow." Raphael looked at her, exhausted but determined. "Aren't you scared?" "Every day. But being scared and giving up are different things." He smiled, a tired, genuine smile. "You're amazing, you know that?" Isabella felt her face heat up. Over the past months, something had changed between them. It was no longer just doctor and patient. It was complicity. Trust. Something deeper she didn't dare name. The following months were even more intense. Raphael designed and built a lightweight exoskeleton, almost invisible under clothing, that sent direct neural impulses to Isabella's muscles. It seemed like science fiction, but it worked. The first time Isabella wore it, she felt her legs respond differently. They weren't yet her natural neural commands, but the exoskeleton translated her intentions. "Try to stand," instructed Raphael, positioned beside her. Isabella took a deep breath. She held onto the parallel bars. Pushed. Her legs shook. The exoskeleton hummed softly. And then, for the first time in 3 years, Isabella Moretti stood up. Tears came instantly. Raphael held her arm, stabilizing her. "You're standing," he said, his voice choked. "You're really standing." Isabella looked down, seeing her own legs supporting her weight. Not completely alone, but supporting. "Now," Raphael said gently, "try to take a step." Isabella focused every ounce of strength she had. She imagined moving her right leg. The exoskeleton responded. Her foot dragged forward. 5 centimeters. Then 10. 1 step. She gasped, almost falling, but Raphael held her steady. "One more," he encouraged. Left leg. Another dragged step. 2 steps. "I can't believe it," whispered Isabella. 3 more, said Raphael. "You can do it." Isabella took 3 more trembling steps, each one a victory against everything the doctors said was impossible. When she reached the end of the bar, her legs gave out and Raphael held her, carefully sitting her back in the chair. Isabella was sobbing. Raphael too. He knelt in front of her, holding her face in his hands. "You walked. 5 steps. You really walked." "You were right," she said through tears. "You were always right." Raphael rested his forehead against hers. "We were right." And there, in that laboratory lit only by computer screens, something changed between them forever. It was no longer just science. Not just healing. It was love born from shared pain, from the struggle together, from the hope they built step by impossible step. 6 months after the first step, Isabella could walk alone with the exoskeleton for short distances. But Raphael wanted more. He knew that real neural regeneration was happening, slow but steady. The exoskeleton was a technological crutch. The true victory would be dispensing with it. "I need to try something different," Raphael said one rainy afternoon, studying new scans. "Holistic therapy combined with technology." Holistic. Isabella raised an eyebrow. "Deep meditation, visualization work, neurological acupuncture. It sounds strange, but studies show that the mind can accelerate physical healing processes." Amanda never wanted to try. She thought it was nonsense. But I should have insisted. Isabella saw the pain cross his face. "Raphael, you need to stop blaming yourself." "I can't. Every time I look at you, I see a second chance I don't deserve." Isabella rolled her chair up to him and held his hand. "Do you think I'd do all this if I didn't believe in you? It's not redemption, Raphael. It's science. It's hope. It's both of us choosing not to give up." He squeezed her hand back. "You saved me as much as I'm trying to save you. Then let me try the holistic method." Raphael nodded, eyes shining. "We're going to intensify everything. Get ready for the next 3 months to be the hardest of your life." And they were. Isabella woke up at 4 in the morning for guided meditation, then went through even more powerful neural stimulation sessions, brutal physiotherapy, acupuncture, intensive visualization where she imagined every nerve reconnecting, every muscle responding. There were days she wanted to give up. Days she screamed in frustration. Days she cried on Raphael's shoulder, exhausted. But he was always there. Not with pity. Not with empty promises. With presence. With quiet certainty. "You will succeed," he said every night before she left. And Isabella believed him. In the 10th week of the new protocol, something extraordinary happened. Isabella was lying on the table after a particularly intense session when she felt something different. Not tingling. Not involuntary contraction. Control. "Raphael," she called, her voice tense. He ran to her. "What?" "Look." Isabella focused intensely. Her right big toe moved. Not much. Just a few millimeters. But it was intentional. She commanded it. Raphael froze, mouth open. "Do it again." Isabella repeated it. The toe moved again. "My God," whispered Raphael. "Isabella, that's voluntary motor control. Your spinal cord is really regenerating." They hugged, crying, laughing, in disbelief. Progress accelerated. Within 2 weeks, Isabella could move her toes on her own. Then the ankle. Then, with immense effort, slightly bend the knee. Raphael proposed something risky. A charity gala that Isabella organized annually was scheduled for a month later. He wanted her to dance with him. Dance. Isabella's eyes widened. Raphael, I can barely walk on my own. With the exoskeleton, you can. And with a month of intensive training, we can do something beautiful. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be real. Isabella hesitated, then nodded. Let's try. The following month was physical torture. But every night, Raphael and Isabella practiced. Slow steps, constant support, the exoskeleton humming softly under her dress. On the night of the gala, Isabella was terrified. 500 people. Business people, celebrities, press. Everyone knew about her wheelchair. No one expected what was about to happen. When the music started, Raphael extended his hand. Isabella took a deep breath, rose from the wheelchair with his help, and they began to dance. The entire ballroom fell into absolute silence. People began to cry. Cameras clicked. Isabella took trembling but real steps, supported partially by Raphael, partially by the exoskeleton, partially by her own regained strength. It wasn't a perfect dance. It was better. It was real. When the music ended, the room erupted in applause. Isabella was crying, exhausted, but standing. Raphael held her face and, in front of everyone, kissed her. You are incredible, he whispered. We are incredible, she corrected. But the night had one last surprise. When they returned to their seats, Raphael knelt. In front of 500 people, he took a small box from his pocket. Isabella Moretti, you made me believe in miracles again. You made me believe in myself. You turned my pain into purpose, my past into future. Will you marry me? Isabella covered her mouth, tears flowing freely. Yes. 1,000 times yes. The room erupted in applause again. Raphael placed the ring on her finger and kissed her once more, long and deeply. There, at that moment, surrounded by witnesses of a love born from pain and forged in hope, Isabella and Raphael knew they had achieved something more valuable than a cure. They had conquered each other. The months following the engagement were spent intensifying the treatment. Raphael adjusted the protocols, increased the sessions, combined new techniques. Isabella progressed from assisted steps to short walks without the exoskeleton. It wasn't perfect. She limped, needed frequent breaks, but these were her steps. Genuine. The wedding was scheduled for 9 months later. Raphael insisted it be held in the laboratory where it all began. Isabella agreed immediately. That place was sacred to both of them. The team decorated the space with soft lights, white flowers, keeping the equipment as a backdrop. It wasn't traditional. It was theirs. On the wedding day, Isabella was in the makeshift dressing room, looking at the simple white dress hanging. Her mother adjusted the veil. Are you sure you want to walk down the aisle? Her mother asked, worried. No one will judge if you use the wheelchair. I'm going to walk, Mom. It's important. But what if you fall? Isabella smiled. Then Raphael will lift me. Like he always has. When the music began, the doors opened. Isabella took the first step. Alone. Without the exoskeleton. Without support. Her legs shook violently, each step a battle, but she moved forward. The guests stood, many crying. Raphael, at the altar, had tears streaming freely. Every step Isabella took was a victory against everything they said was impossible. It took 4 minutes to cover 10 meters. Isabella reached Raphael, out of breath, sweating, but radiant. He held her hands, squeezing tightly. You did it, he whispered, emotional. We did it, she corrected him once again. The ceremony was intimate, emotional. When the officiant asked for vows, Raphael spoke first. Isabella, you came into my life when I had given up on everything. You gave me purpose when I thought I didn't deserve it. You taught me that failure isn't the end, it's the start of another attempt. You saved me long before I saved you. I promise to spend every day showing you that believing in us was the best decision you've ever made. Isabella wiped away tears before speaking. Raphael, you looked at me and saw possibility where everyone else saw tragedy. You gave me hope when I had forgotten what it felt like. You proved that miracles don't come from the heavens, they come from people brave enough to fight for them. I promise to remind you every day that you are extraordinary, not for what you know, but for who you are." They exchanged simple rings and kissed to warm applause. The celebration was small, just close friends and the lab team. Raphael danced with Isabella for 3 songs. She had to sit afterward, exhausted but happy. "Tired?" he asked, bringing her water. "My feet are killing me," she laughed. "Literally. Never thought I'd complain about this again." Raphael kissed her forehead. "Best pain in the world." "I completely agree." 6 months after the wedding, Isabella discovered she was pregnant. The doctor warned of risks due to her condition, but she and Raphael decided to move forward. The pregnancy was closely monitored. During those months, Isabella's recovery continued. She walked longer distances, with more stability. Raphael joked that the baby was giving extra motivation to her legs. The birth was complicated but safe. When they placed the baby in Isabella's arms, she looked at that small, perfect face, then at Raphael beside her, and felt the cycle was complete. "What should we name him?" Raphael asked, caressing the baby's head. "Lucas," Isabella said without hesitation. "It means light." "Perfect." 3 months after Lucas was born, Isabella could walk from the bedroom to the kitchen without stopping. Raphael filmed everything, emotional. She still limped, and probably always would, but she walked. One sunny afternoon, Isabella was in the garden with Lucas in her arms when Raphael arrived from the lab. He sat beside her on the grass. "You know what I realized today?" Isabella said, watching their son sleep peacefully. "What?" "That the miracle was never about walking. It was about believing it was worth trying. It was about finding someone who saw me beyond the wheelchair, beyond the money, beyond everything. It was about us." Raphael held her hand. "The doctors were right about one thing, you would never be the same. But not for the reasons they imagined. I'm better now. Much better." Isabella rested her head on his shoulder. "Do you still remember when you told me in the workshop that I would walk again?" "I remember. You laughed in my face. Then I cried." "Why?" "Because part of me wanted to believe. And having hope after so much pain was terrifying." Raphael kissed the top of her head. "And now? Now I know hope wasn't the end. It was just the beginning." Lucas stirred in her arms, opening his little eyes. Isabella smiled, thinking of everything they had lived, everything they had achieved, everything yet to come. The impossible had happened. Not by magic, not by luck, but by 2 broken hearts that decided to heal together, painful step by painful step. If you enjoyed this inspiring story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Share in the comments what you thought and which city or country you're watching from. Your participation keeps inspiring stories like this coming.